team is right now?
Well, I like the way they work. This has been the hardest summer that we put on our kids. We're doing more team runs, longer. It's hard. It's been hot. I like how we look. I think you'll see that with the 3 representatives we brought over here. I like how we look. We've got some older leadership that I like. Obviously, it starts with the quarterback, but of course you got Rocket here and Landon as well that are older guys that have earned the respect of the team. But I really like the competitiveness. You know, a lot of the summer program is about competition, and I like how we're competing, and so really happy with where we are right now today.
When you start out with a combo like KJ and Rocket, 2 of your most productive positions, they're veteran guys.
Yeah.
How important is that when you start? That's your starting point, basically.
That's huge. You know, I think competition, we're finally to the point where we have competition in almost every single room. I think even with bringing Criswell in, I think that helps KJ. Rocket, obviously, it's a good running back room. But to start with those 2 guys who are veterans, who are tough, who are great kids, obviously they're here today, means a lot to the football program. KJ's the guy. I mean, he's the guy on offense, defense, everything. He's the guy. But Rocket is so close to that as far as the maturity and the respect he has on the team. And they're great players, so it really helps.
What's the latest on Quincy McAdoo?
Quincy is still rehabbing. I think that there's a great chance that he'll get back to 100%. I just don't know how long that's going to be. Whether for me to say that he would have an opportunity to play this year would probably be premature on that. So we're just hoping that he can come back and live a normal, full life. And if that happens to have football in it, then so be it. But I think he's going to be cleared a little bit more in maybe 3 or 4 weeks, and then we'll kind of go from there.
Is there anybody aside from Quincy that is going to be held out of fall camp?
No, nobody out. Dominique Johnson got cleared, and well, everybody has. Trey, Quincy would be the one that we'd have the most concern about.
With Dominic being out so much, I think he was listed like 253 or something. Has he gotten his weight under?
He has. You know, matter of fact, there was a conversation on the plane coming in about how he looks and how much better in shape. I think he looks better right now than any time that he did last year. I just don't feel like he was ever really comfortable with playing. He had, as a matter of fact, he had an opportunity to play against Missouri State last year, and you know, kind of just wasn't confident enough to play. I don't think that's the case now. And with him being able to go out the first day of camp, I think that's going to help him. But he's working and doing it right now, so I think it's going to help him. And I think he's confident. He looks good. We talked about him today, actually.
Sam, speaking of bulking up, Landon Jackson walked by, and he looks like he's put on some good weight. I mean, credit to your strength and conditioning program, right?
Yeah, and him. But I think last year he ended the season at 236, and he's 280 right now. And he always had the frame to do that. But I think he's running over, I know he is, he's running over 20 miles an hour. And so the weight has been all good weight for him. And you know, he was a force in spring ball now. I mean, we had a hard time blocking him on offense. And so, but he looks great, and Rocket's up to about 240 and looks great. And of course, KJ looking good as well.
Coach, you're an Oklahoma guy. What do you think of OU and Texas joining the conference? On the scale of recruiting, does that up the ante in terms of the arm race and that factor? I mean, does it change your philosophy?
I don't think it does. I don't think it amps it up. I mean, you know, Oklahoma probably has 8 to 10 players somewhere a year, but that state's been recruited heavy by every SEC school. You know, I know Luke has, from there. He was recruited by every SEC school and others. Texas, I don't know, because Texas is so highly recruited. UT's always had a strong presence there. Would the SEC make it different? Maybe. But they've always, they're the program, or one of the, premier programs in America. And so I don't know if it'll change a whole lot, but I'm excited that both of them are in the conference. Logistically, I think it's wonderful, and I think it'll be great for the fans.
Every coach has addressed NIL this week. The commissioner has as well. Has this last round of recruiting and transfer portal changed your view of NIL and maybe the changes Congress could make at some point in the future?
Well, I think what we deal with is what it is today, and so you have to adjust to it. I had to adjust to it. I mean, you have to adjust to it, but they'll find a solution that's good for the student athletes. It's good for programs. It's good for boosters, donors, all those type things. I don't know that we all think they found it yet, but they will, and until they do, we're going to live with it and not complain about it and be aggressive with it.
Commissioner Sankey stated, with the collectives and worried about influence of playing time and things with coaches. As a coach, does that worry you with collectives that could be some kind of influence towards you in playing time?
No. I mean, I'm not going to lose my team because somebody's making more money than somebody else. We're going to put the best players out there. So, no, I mean, it may affect him, but no, it doesn't affect me.
Sam, how excited are you for this season?
Very. Anytime, you're always working, but anytime you have a season that was disappointing, you want to make up for it, and certainly we were disappointed. Our state was disappointed. I get it. I mean, nobody was more disappointed in last year's season than myself and our players. But we got a chance to fix it, and we're excited about what's transpired since the end of the season. I'm going to include the bowl win, but since the end of the season to now, I think there's been a lot of positive change.
Everybody in the SEC West expects to win, and not everybody can win. So you have to turn over every stone to look for the edge. How do you find edges to win close games and that kind of stuff?
Well, I think the first thing you have to admit you have a problem. You have to find the problem, what it is. A lot of times you just look in the mirror and you found it, and how are you going to fix it? I think the blame game is terrible, blaming this guy, that guy, this guy. You got to look in the mirror and you got to go fix it. It's my job to fix it. We worked on that a lot this spring. We worked on third and short both sides. We worked on goal line both sides. We worked on situation football. We worked on third down going for fourth down, so I'll be more comfortable. And those are you're talking about if we make one, will it be a difference in 3 points? Well, if it is, then we would have won 4 more games. So all those things we're looking internally, some things that we do, schematics, but we've got to get back to physical, tough football. And I think we lost a game or two because we got out physical last year.
When you go into a season with, quote, first-year coordinators, I know Dan has done it before here, but what's your thoughts about having new coordinators in the SEC?
Well, I think that was probably one of my biggest concerns. I think you all know that I didn't want to lose my coordinators, and I will say this: I'm happy for Barry. I'm happy for Kendall. They both did outstanding jobs for us. But I'm excited about who we have. Change doesn't have to be negative. Change can be positive as well. I think the kids are excited about Dan. I know KJ is in the quarterback room. I'm excited to have him, and T. Will brings a great energy, a very aggressive style defensively. So sometimes the things that scare you the most, and then you make the change and you go, this wasn't so bad. This is going to work out okay, and that's how I feel about it.
Having LSU on the schedule in September versus November, how does that change your planning and preparation for that game this year?
Well, I think, your true team shows up at the end of the year. You know, I mean, who you have injury-wise, what your depth is look like, and all those type of things. I think the fact that it's our first SEC game, I think that will be valuable to us and them, obviously. But I don't know that it'll change a whole lot more than that. But I do appreciate the fact that that'll be our first SEC contest.
When you sort of talk about the balance between name, image, and likeness, and balancing sort of the work as an athlete, I mean, what for you as a coach is sort of the right balance for that, and how would you sort of want to approach that?
Are you asking me about what concerns are there with NIL versus portal versus coaching?
Yes.
Well, they're all the things you need to do. They pay me a lot of money to do it. I've turned it into, I'm trying to embrace it all. Problem's only a problem until you get it fixed, and there's problems every day. And do we have more problems because of NIL and the transfer portal than ever before? Absolutely. But at the same time, do you look at it as, oh, somebody transferred out and oh my Lord, or do you go, you know what, give me a chance to go out and get somebody else, something new. Same way with your coaches, things of that nature. NIL's a little bit of a beast because you don't really know what's true and what's not. There's no contracts being signed or anything of that nature. It's a constant in the program. But at the same time, I think we're going to field a really good football team. So we're trying to think of it as, view it as a positive.
Sam, this is your third time to be here because it didn't have it in 2020.
Yeah.
Just what's your take on coming here, and how comfortable do you feel now, doing this?
Well, obviously, once you know what to expect, it gets easier. I'll be honest with you, I'm still nervous about going in the big room. I don't know why. I mean, I interview all the time. But, I mean, they grade you and all that kind of stuff. You don't want to be last. If I can get close to the bottom but not last, I'll be okay. I'll be honest with you, coming on the plane, it's just an honor. I'm the head coach at Arkansas. They're flying us in a private plane. I'm around KJ and Rocket and Landon Jackson. And I'm the head coach at Arkansas. It's a really, really neat deal, and I'm very honored to be a part of y'all's day, Media Day.
Coach, Landon, you made the decision. I mean, it's a big deal for him to be the lone defender here. What kind of went into picking Landon?
Well, I think he had such a great spring, and he really, obviously Eric Gregory could have been a guy, Nudie could have been a guy, guys that had played some ball. Hudson Clark had played a lot of ball for us. But I just thought Landon had such a great spring for us, and that he was one of the deserving. You know how I feel. To bring the whole damn team if I could, but they had us three, and we sat around and talked about it as a staff and chose him.
Coach, you've got 4 top 100 recruits committed in this class, 9 4-stars out of your 16 commits. You've never had that before. Arkansas's never had that. What's changed?
Well, I hired a lot of good recruiters, obviously, because if you look at it, we had our chance. We had the nine win season, winning the Outback Bowl, and we finished probably in the top 20, 25, somewhere in that. And so we had that chance coming off 7-6. It doesn't have much fireworks as being in the top 20 at the end of the year. So you hire guys that it's work, and you hire guys with personalities, and you hire guys that are willing to get on Zooms and all that. And that's what we did, because the facilities haven't changed, the head coach hasn't changed. It's the confidence that Arkansas can be a destination for the top players in the country. You have to sell that, and our staff's done a great job at doing that.
You feel more like you're involved in more like head-to-head battles with SEC teams?
Man, it's been
now
fun.
than in the past?
Yeah, I mean, I tell our coaches all the time, you'll find a great recruiter is one where you go beat several SEC teams outside your state. Now, a great recruiter could be the same inside the state as well. But you go pluck somebody from another state that has a university in that state that's playing in the SEC that has that offer, you've done a hell of a job.
Sam, you made the Lindy's All Coaches as Players team.
The what?
You made the Lindy's All Coaches as Players team.
Oh, I did.
Yeah, for your All-American career. I just wonder what you think about that.
Wait, now that's for playing or coaching?
It's like the coaches who were the best players, and Deion
Oh, well,
Sanders
I
is
knew
on
that.
there. You know?
Well, Deion, I was the first question I was asked is Deion's on there with me.
Yeah.
Is he? Okay,
Yeah.
good. Well, I didn't know anything about that, but I wasn't a very good player. but I appreciate being on the team.
You're all American.
Sam, you're an Oklahoma guy. You coach there, obviously. Been around the program a lot. Do you think OU's ready for the SEC, or what do you think?
Absolutely. If they do, I do. Absolutely.
Coach, with the transfer portal, it's kind of limited the impact that true freshmen have now in college football. But is there a guy or two on this team that you see could immediately impact?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know a lot, Trey, about the kids that came in, in late May. That's, you see them and they're running around, and you see they got good athletes, whatever. But the guys that were here in spring, you look at a Jalen Braxton, who I think is going to be a really good player for. T.J. Metcalf is another guy that kind of stands out in there. I like the linebacker group, those freshman linebackers. I think all of them. Sanford wasn't here, but obviously the other guys were, and then Luke Has is. He probably would be the first guy, if I had time to think about it, that, yeah, he's special. He's different. And but those are the guys that would pop off of my brain right just off the quick question.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, Coach. Thank you, Coach.